Hey, Coach. So, offensive identities obviously evolve from week to week. How do you go about adjusting and balancing to defenses without losing what makes you guys unique on offense?
Say that. What was the last?
How do you guys go about adjusting to the changing defenses without losing what makes you unique on offense?
Yeah, I think being able to run the football is always a priority. So you're always trying to find a way, regardless of what the defense is presenting you, that you can be efficient in running the football. But the fronts change, the coverages change, and so you hope that your playbook's extensive enough that you can adjust what you've done, what you've installed in training camp, and adjust it to the defense that you're facing. So some weeks you feel like maybe you'll be able to run the ball a little bit better than other weeks, and some weeks you feel like maybe it's more of a passing game, but you want to be balanced. And so you adjust what you're doing based on the structure and the personnel and everything that you're seeing from the defense.
To your point on that, Joe, last week you're down by 14, but you ran the ball 19 times in the second half.
Yep.
How did that manifest itself that way? Because typically you would think in those games you're going to pass more.
I think as you're calling plays, Sean's calling plays, as you feel maybe that you're gaining some momentum, and that the run plays are hitting. If you every time you run the ball you're getting 1 yard or no yards, it's easier to abandon it. But I think we were running the ball pretty efficiently in the second half, and we felt like we had enough time, and that our defense was playing well, so you could stay patient. So you're watching how it's going, and I think we felt like we were starting to lean on them a little bit, and getting some good runs, and so we kept doing it, which was important.
What was the conversation in the headset like when you went for two in the play with Troy? Because at different times last year, once you do it, then like at the Bengals you didn't. But what was that moment like? Did you guys know as that drive's going on, we score a touchdown here, we go for it?
No, but I think it was there's a pretty good consensus that like, hey, should we go for two? And I think everyone felt good about our 2-point plan, and so there's a pretty strong consensus to go for two there. And the Cincinnati game might have been weighing on our minds a little bit, like, gosh, in retrospect, you wish we would have gone for two there. So felt good about the play. And Sean mentioned, like, this is the world champion. We're probably the underdog in this game. You got a lot to you got more to gain than to lose in those situations. So we were aggressive.
What would you say are some of the finer intricacies? What would you say are some of the finer intricacies of being an OC?
I think it depends on what your role is. With Sean calling the plays here, I'm more of a, help put the plan together and organize the staff and those kinds of things. So a little less stress on game day, but still a lot going on during the week.
Where do you sense his confidence most, Sean? You've been around him as much as anyone around here, because he can be a little high-strung and volcanic at times. We see. Where do you how would you describe him in terms of how his confidence is helping, like, this team turn the corner? Like, it seems like we're starting to see this as a Sean Payton team.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you?
I think if you ask me what Sean does the best, it's getting the right guys on the team. He talks about we spend as much time on the personality, the character of the players that we acquire as much as we do their football talent. We want guys that love football, that winning is important to, that this game is important to, that are willing to put in the work and have that mental toughness that, every season, I don't care how good it goes, you're going to have some times that are tough. And we do a lot of research to make sure that the players that we have that kind of character to withstand those times and keep working and keep being positive. So, certainly there's the way that you approach the team and what you say to them and how you practice in order to build that, but you have to start with a good foundation. And I think, what our front office does and what, Sean makes sure is important to us is getting the right guys in here that, that can take those, couple game losing streaks or, hey, we got some injuries and things aren't looking good. And, but we still have guys that, are all in every day.
Can you give him shit? Can you talk to him that way and have that relationship? Or?
Yeah. I mean, depending on his mood, but yeah.
I just wonder because you've known him forever.
Yeah. No, he's something he says about that is important to him with players and coaches, and he has it, the ability to laugh at yourself, not take yourself too seriously, and yeah, he's got that ability.
We haven't seen that side.
Yeah.
On this side.
Yeah, I understand.
That's matchups also with the pressure. So it's a balancing act. But I pride myself on making us smart bullies and not just blitzing the blitz and with no purpose. So moving forward, that's our job as coaches, to kind of put them in the best spots to have success and also get pressure. So that's the balancing act each week.
Thank you. Did you see Justin Fields for the last 2 years? Is that good, or is it because his system?
Say again, I'm sorry?
You see Justin Fields
Yes.
last year, but obviously you have 3 different systems. Is it a good thing that you've seen him, or do you just go back to this year's tape and
Well, he is so talented. He's dangerous, obviously with his legs. He's a better runner than Jalen, in my opinion. He has a great arm. He's obviously, bouncing around the teams, but, not his fault. I mean, he's competed everywhere he's gone, but he's capable of making big plays, and that's scary for a coach. It only takes one play on defense to give up a big play, and they've got guys who can do those things. The backs playing well, the receivers a top 10 pick, and the quarterback's a special talent. So, we've got to play our best ball to win. It's the NFL. It's no trap games or easy games on the schedule. Playing our best is our goal each week, and we have to do that.
You got any memories of playing here in England you'd like to recount? I'm trying to think how often you've been.
Yeah, this is actually number 5 for me. I had 3 with the Dolphins, 3 all in Wembley. I had 1 in Tottenham with the Saints, and then obviously this will be number 5. So yeah, some good ones. I certainly always a pretty cool trip over here. Probably my best memory is I was walking in Wembley Stadium in the tunnel there, and they had the ropes really tight. Me and this guy kind of brushed by each other, and he says, "Hey, excuse me, coach." We go out, and then I make it out to the field, and then they were like, "Riz, you know who that was?" I'm like, "No." It was the Pirates of the Caribbean guy. And look at me, I don't even remember his name, the actor. Thank you. Me and Johnny Depp were about, I had to get out of the way. He had to get away for, I had to get away for Johnny Depp, and I didn't even know who he was. So, but no, it's been always a pleasure to come over here. The fans are awesome.
In talking to some players, I don't know, maybe a decade ago, maybe it's changed, they said that the English fans really loved kicking. They would really cheer punts, kickoffs. Is it still like that, or what's it like historically, their love of kicking?
Yeah, it's obviously with the soccer background, the punting, the rugby, all that kind of stuff, the field goal stuff. I feel like the special teams gets a little love over here because of the soccer background. So no, it's funny. Any of the questions I've ever gotten from the English fans have been really directly related to the kicking stuff. And now with the kickoff being back in the fold, it'll be interesting. So fans will be jacked up.
Coach, what's your take on all the blocked kicks we've seen so far this season? Because it feels like special teams is a place to either win or lose games, in particular this season right now.
Yeah, there's definitely a spike this year in the beginning of the season. I would say this though, in the beginning of the season, there's always a little bit of a spike, not as much as there's been this year, but we kind of try to get our players in tune with that, because in the preseason, you don't see a lot of people really going after field goals and going after punts, and it's very, very hard to simulate that in practice. And so you have a lot of guys that maybe aren't playing special teams in the preseason. So those first few weeks are really the first time they're getting the live action, especially on field goal. There's not a lot of teams that are going to go live field goal in practice. And so a lot of times you're really seeing that for the first time in games. And so, I kind of looked at all the block kicks. I don't think there's an overriding theme. There's been blocks in different ways. There have been some low field goals that have come out and some linemen have gotten them from in the middle. There's been a couple jump over the line of scrimmages, so a couple off the edge. So it hasn't been like the same type of block, but I would say it's hard to replicate that protection, the live protection in practice. And so a lot of times you see that spike in the beginning, and it kind of levels off for a little bit.
And do you think there's anything that's been overlooked in special teams that perhaps you'd like to pay more attention to detail to?
Well, the kickoff stuff, the new kickoff rules this year, we're up close to 80% right now with the return rates. And so, last year, that's a 50% jump from last year. And so, every week, and you're seeing it every game, even the other night, the Chiefs-Jaguars game at the end, the out-of-bounds kick, Jaguars get the ball at the 40. We've seen that in a bunch of Thursday night games. So it really is affecting the field position and really affecting the field position at the end of games. Where teams are scoring points, and so that's been a big, kind of the thing that jumps out to me.
You've been last couple of kickers and punters your whole life. Is it more rare that they don't have a soccer background? Without doing the numbers, do most of them have a soccer background?
Yeah, well, now the Australian punters, you're seeing a lot of the SEC, I think, has 14 or 15 Australian punters. So you're seeing a lot of the Australian rules guys. Usually with kickers, it is usually a little bit odd to see guys that don't have a soccer background with the kickers. Maybe not so much with the punters, but definitely with the kickers. I would say this, though, in America right now, you're seeing a lot of guys that are starting to get into the kicking earlier than kind of when we were growing up.
Sure.
A lot of times you went and found the best soccer player to come be your kicker, and I think now you're getting a lot of guys that are developing earlier on as kickers, as young guys.
Well, you know Sean pretty well. I mean, Joe's been around him forever.
Yeah.
And Pete, but when he goes for two like that, and it felt like this kind of defining moment in the season, is that when you kind of know like this is a Sean Payton team, or when do you know this feels like a Sean Payton team, that it's his guys he's put together and kind of this image?
Yeah.
Because he likes he wants all the smoke. He wants the big games.
Yeah, no question.
Did you sense like in a moment like that where you go for two and you beat the defending champs?
I would say this. On that drive, it was in the back of my mind, and that's from knowing Sean.
Okay.
And the other thing I would say is this. Sean has an expression. I know Bill Parcells used to say it all the time. There's a way to win every one of these games, and I know Sean says that a lot. And it's our job as coaches to figure out. And so Sean has a plan every week. And so on the road, Super Bowl champs, defending Super Bowl champs, he probably had in his mind like, hey, if we score late in this game, it's going to be a situation where we can take the lead. We came here to win. We're not going to play for overtime. Let's win the game right now. I know he's talked about having some plays that he liked, and so I've been in that situation with him before in New Orleans. But it's the preparation and the lead up to the game, and I think Sean does a phenomenal job of having a formula to win the game every week.
Okay.
It's our job as coaches to go out and teach that. Players have to execute it, but I think that he does a great job throughout the week of laying out from Monday to Saturday. This is how we can and will win this game, and that's just a good example of it.